Great doubleheader, guys. Great doubleheader. So yeah, that was what, you know, 5.5 hours roughly, with a little break in between the games. But 5.5 hours of baseball, 2 games, no runs, no runs. Not only I think maybe one maybe 2 runners to third, and the one in game 2 was because of wild pitches. Minnesota Twins are a really bad baseball team. I with as every game that goes by, I'm thinking less and less that this is just, slump a team goes through, and this is just who they are. Because they played 2 doubleheaders now in a week, and they've scored 3 runs combined in those 4 games. That's insane. And it's not like they've been hitting outside of those games. They are a fucking terrible team right now, and they're the worst kind of terrible team. They are a boring, terrible team because they're not doing anything that you can kind of get into. Sometimes the pitching's okay, like the pitching, in game 2, Brios was fine, but there's no more. Like, I feel bad for him. There's no margin for error. With really any of these starting pitchers, or even the relievers for that matter, because they can't score. They can't manufacture. It's the same. It's the same fucking shit. If the ball is not going over the fence, they can't do anything. And now today, in the doubleheader, we didn't get much from Cruz or Buxton. We didn't get really much of anything from anybody. But it's like, as bad as they are for the most part, if Buxton and Cruz, if they have an off day, or maybe if they go in a little bit of a slump or funk, it's rock bottom, because I haven't looked at the updated batting averages and stuff, but it just gets worse and worse. Like, everything's going, and they've got all their built-in excuses that I know they're going to use now. Obviously this was their first time playing in 4 days or whatever, because of COVID issues and stuff, and so they've got a couple players on the out on the COVID list. But it's like, look, they're I know they're going to make these excuses, and there's always going to be excuses, because they don't really want to. I don't think they really want to address the fact that this is just not 2019 anymore, and it's not coming back. They have to find another way. But their only way seems to be, we're going to hit the ball over the fence all the time. And that ain't going to happen. It's just not. Like, the people who are holding out hope that Mitch Garver and Jorge Polanco and Miguel Sano and Max Kepler and maybe some other guys are going to just flip a switch and be back to their unquestioned career peak year of 2019, that level of production again, you're out of your fucking mind. It's never going to happen. That's over. This lineup is an absolute fucking train wreck. And they're a train wreck even though they've got, 3 guys in Buxton, Cruz, and Arise who are great. And they've been playing great. Maybe not today. They weren't. Obviously, like I said, if these guys have an off day, you just have absolutely no chance to score any runs. But no one is doing anything. No one is picking anybody up. They're not manufacturing runs. It's putrid. Like, I don't think I've ever seen a Twins team, a Twins lineup, that just can be had just by throwing a fastball down the middle of the plate. And they swing through them all the time, everybody. It's amazing they can't hit these pitches. It's like, yeah, some of these guys are throwing, a lot of heat. Well, most pitchers in baseball these days throw heat. So if that's the if you can't hit a fucking fastball right down the middle of the plate, I can't hit a fastball down the middle of the plate. I'm not a major league hitter. So, but these guys are major league hitters. They're, and these pitches are just right there to be had, and I, I don't understand the approach at the plate on a lot of these. They'll swing at shit that's out of the zone. They'll take pitches right over the plate, and then it's like two strikes, and then they'll swing through the strike two pitch right over the plate. It's just hapless. And like it'll turn around to a degree. They're not gonna. I mean, they can't be this bad. They cannot be this hapless at the plate for the whole season. It would be just. They just can't be. But the problem is, Buxton's been out of his mind. Cruz has been really good. Rice has been really good. But that's it. Like you got 2/3 of your lineup that is just nothing. So if that 1/3 that's good, if they go in a funk, you got no chance. Absolutely no chance. And I don't know what the solution is, but I don't think they know what the solution is either. And I think that's the problem. Because, they're living off 2019, and it ain't 2019 anymore. They did, they deadened the baseballs. Guys had career years. You're not going to duplicate that, and you're certainly not going to duplicate that 2 years later. And they're going to use all the excuses in the book now that they've had, they've had COVID stuff, and they've had, they had a delay. They didn't play after the Dante Wright shooting, and they've had like these kind of a weird, all these weird things. The fuck, they had a fucking power outage at the Oakland Stadium tonight. It's like, yeah, there's a lot of weird shit going on, and you've had injuries, and on top of that, a few injuries. But it's like, come on, just enough with the fucking excuses. This is just a lifeless team right now, and Game 2 was winnable. Game 1 was not winnable, really. I mean, obviously they didn't score, so of course it's not winnable. But you got a mediocre start from Shoemaker, who's, he's just whatever. He's as a fifth starter, he's fine, but and then Alcala comes in and gives up a fucking grand slam. Like, our bullpen is just a fucking disaster. And starting rotation's been alright. A couple of our hitters have been great, but you look at the results and they're not scoring runs and they're not winning games. Like, no matter what, this was going to be a team primarily led by their offense, and their offense is fucking terrible. I don't know where they rank in the league. I mean, they had a couple games early in the season. I mean, it's still early in the season, but early in the 16 games they've played so far, where they piled up some runs. But for the most part, it's been really fucking bad, and it's just been really, really bad now since kind of like what was it, the last Seattle game. They had the 6-0 lead, and then that imploded, and really since then they've just done nothing. It's just terrible at bats. You have pitches to hit, and they can't hit them. They can't manufacture. Like, I can't get over this thing, how the only thing they know how to do is hit the ball over the fence, but they're not hitting the ball over the fence. When the fuck did they even hit their last home run? I mean, it's been a while. I don't even know what the last time was they hit a home run. Obviously, they didn't today because they didn't score a run. I mean, they're just punchless and hapless. And I don't know. It's gonna turn around to a degree because it just fucking has to. like, you know, not expecting these guys to be 2019 versions of themselves, but fuck, they're not. They can't be this bad because they're looking like the worst. They're looking like one of the worst lineups in the history of the franchise. That cannot fucking be possible. So I think it'll turn around to a degree, but they sure as fuck don't look like a playoff team now. I mean, this is like 10% of the season. They played 16 out of 162, and the division's not very good. But I'm not seeing much from this team that looks like you talk about is this the team that can break the playoff losing streak? They don't even look like they can get to the playoffs. And and if they did they look like the team? Like, does this look like a special team, like a team that could get to the playoffs, win games in the playoffs, go on a run, be in contention for winning a title? Fuck no, they don't. Like, and there's been stuff that's happened that's not, that's kind of out of their control, at least to some degree. But they got on the field issues, and I don't know that they if they really realize they're on the field issues, because I think they're still thinking just, hey, this is just baseball. This is we're hitting a bad little stretch here. I look at it that they were not very good for a big chunk of of last year as well, hitting the ball, and all the same guys who stunk last year are stinking this year. And I don't know. This was bad baseball today, though. Maybe this was rock bottom. I mean, I guess that's what you got to hope for. Is this was rock bottom for maybe not for the season, but certainly for for their April play, because even in a long season, maybe a weak division, you don't want to just be piling up losses at any point. And I don't know, like, they're 6-10, and they've had a fair amount of stuff go their way in terms of players performing. And they're 6-10, so it's not the end of the world yet, but they're really sapping the hopes, I think, out of the Twins fan base at this point, because if you came into this year really thinking this was going to be a special season, I don't know how you're looking at it right now as a special season. This is looking like one of those seasons where you go in with big expectations and it's a big old flop.